Hey, it's Marie from netsavvymama.com and we're at day 24 of the 90-day video challenge. Today we're going to be continuing on talking about outsourcing virtual assistants from overseas. Yesterday I talked about where to find them and how to hire them, and today I'm going to give you some tips as to how to manage them on the daily basis, or what I do anyway, to keep things flowing smoothly between myself and my virtual assistant. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first tip, which is when you've got them on board, make sure you take the time to give them a proper orientation. You need to make sure that you're able to set your intentions and to set your expectations of them and make them really, really clear so that they know the house rules. This is also an opportunity for you to maybe share with them your business goals and how you see them fitting within those goals. Gives them a sense of importance. The second tip I have is to make communication on a daily basis mandatory. And just as an example, what I do is in the morning, I request that my virtual assistant sends me an email, to report for duty and to let me know what they're going to be starting with that day in terms of tasks. In the afternoon, I get them to send me a more comprehensive email. It's like a daily debrief, I guess. It includes what they worked on that day, what they actually completed, any problems or challenges they may have had, and how I could have made things easier for them, or what more support I could have given them. The email that I request in the afternoon also needs to include a list of the tasks that they intend on doing the following day. What this does is it makes them accountable to communicate with me first and foremost, and secondly, it actually allows them to stay on top of their tasks. So what you're effectively doing by asking them to prepare such an email is you're getting them to plan for their day the day before, which can only result in productivity. The third thing is that it actually allows you to let them know that you care about them, that you want their job to be as easy as possible, and that you're willing to help. That just sets a really good foundation for a good working relationship. So that's the second tip I have. The third tip is when it comes to the first task that you give them, don't just give them a big list of things that you want done. As much as you want stuff to get done quickly, what I actually recommend is that you start with the first task, because you want to assess them a little bit, I suppose. The first task I would recommend to be reasonably challenging and one that will require them to go out and figure things out on their own. This will allow you to test just how resourceful they are and how they handle situations when it gets tough. Apparently a very common issue with virtual assistants from overseas is when things get tough and they're not comfortable enough to ask you for support, they tend to just go off and disappear, and that's not good for you or for them. So to prevent that, what you can do is, yes, give them a task that's challenging, and yes, let them figure things out on their own just for this one time, but let them know that you know it's a challenging task and that you actually expect them to get stuck at some point. This is where you can welcome them to come to you for support and let them know that you are going to be there for them, again, to promote open communication. Which leads me to the fourth tip, and this is a really important one that a lot of people sort of don't do. They're so excited to have a virtual assistant on board that as early as the first day or the first couple of days, they give them this big list of things that they want to offload, and then they just go off and do their own thing, leaving the virtual assistant pretty much all alone or feeling all alone. So the fourth tip I have is to make yourself available, at least for the first couple of days, to answer any questions that they may have, or to spend time in helping them get through any challenging things that you may have asked them to do. Again, this promotes, open communication and a good relationship work-wise. And that leads me to the fifth tip, which, when you've done the first task and you're pretty much happy with the way you're communicating with each other, give them training. And it doesn't have to be, 5 straight days of training. What I recommend you do is, for every task that you actually want them to do a little video. Record yourself on something like Jing, which I found to be fantastic, because it prevents them from wasting time trying to figure out how you want things done. By recording it and doing it yourself and recording it for them to watch, they know how you want it done first time, and they'll repeat it every time in the future. Brings me to the sixth tip. When you do little training videos for them, if you put them through any training, whether it's an ebook or a Jing video or whatever, ask them to document what they've learned, because effectively what that does is it allows them to create like a little manual, procedural manual, which you can use not just for them to refer to if they ever get stuck with anything in the future, but for future staff or if a replacement staff, if you ever have to replace your virtual assistant. The next step that I have is to use a project management tool. I use a tool called Basecamp, which I absolutely love, but there are others like Zoho Projects and Active Collab. The ones that I've just mentioned are paid, but for me, absolutely worth it. I pay something like $20 a month, but I'm sure that if you looked hard enough, you could probably find a free one on Google. But anyway, a project management tool will allow you to pretty much keep yourself in the loop with what's happening with their projects and step in if you need to. So if they're sick or if they leave you, a project management tool will allow you to take over because you'll get to see exactly what they've done in each project. So I really recommend a tool like that. Like I said, I'm sure that you can find a free one if necessary, but Basecamp has worked really, really well for me. The next tip is to use a time tracker. Now, I use Time Doctor, which costs me $10 a month, but I found a free one called Visual Outsource, which funnily enough actually includes a project management software. So you might want to try that if you're looking for, if you've only got one staff, it's free for Visual Outsource. What a time tracker does is it actually allows you to monitor how productive they're being and what they're doing all day. So, for example, it allows you to take screenshots every 3, 5, 10 minutes. It's really up to you. And it's up to you as to how strict you are with this, but at the very least, you have the ability to do that because you are paying them on a full-time basis. So you want them to be productive. You don't want them to be doing too much personal stuff during the day. So this type of software or this type of tool will allow you to monitor them if you want to. So I really recommend that. Again, I use Time Doctor and it costs me $10 a month. And that leaves me to this next tip. Okay, I recommend that you always pay them in arrears. So don't pay them up front, but you always pay them on time. And it's self-explanatory, but as a really busy person, it is very easy to forget to pay them. So what I do is I ask them to send me an invoice every week, which is the frequency that we decided mutually between us. But you can obviously pay them for a fortnight or bi-weekly, I think Americans call it. We call it fortnightly, or every 2 weeks or every month, whatever you guys decide is best for you. Get them to send you an invoice so that you don't forget, and it makes the process more formal. Now, I pay my virtual assistant with PayPal only because that's what was mutually beneficial for both of us. But obviously, you decide what's best for you. You can use things like Western Union or other facilities like that. And again, just discuss with your virtual assistant what works best for the both of you. Which leads me to the last tip. Remember that your virtual assistant is just that, an assistant. And you can't expect them to take the lead when it comes to anything to do with your business, especially in the beginning. So you can't reasonably expect them to perform without specific direction. A big mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to virtual assistants is they leave them to make important decisions, which overwhelms them. And what ends up happening is they get so overwhelmed that they leave. So especially in the beginning, give direction, specific direction to your virtual assistant, at least until you have a long, like a more long relationship with them, when they know your business and they know the way you think. Then maybe you can give them a bit more responsibility. But certainly I would say in the first 3 months, be as specific as you can with exactly what you want them to do, and keep the relationship open in terms of communication. Encourage them to communicate with you as much as possible, and you should be right. Well, I hope that that's helped you guys. If you have any questions, I've just hired my virtual assistant and it's working really well. Send me an email if you have any more specific questions about the way I make it work. My email address is marie@netsavvymama.com. All right, well, until tomorrow's video, guys, thank you so much for watching, and again, I hope this has helped. Bye.